my name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today I'm going to talk about half of the books that I read in the month of March. The reason it's only going to be half is because I did a mid-month wrap-up in the middle of March, which I talked about the first 7 books that I had read the first couple weeks of March. So I will link that wrap-up in the description below. You can go back and watch it if you haven't seen it. And so now I'm going to talk about what I read in the second half of March. I had an amazing March overall. I read a total of 15 books. Now, there were a few novellas in there, so they're shorter, but overall, between those 15 books, there were 5,003 pages read. And yeah, so close to being even numbered completely, but it wasn't. Okay, so the first book I'm going to start with is Good Enough for a Princess by Carol Moncado. This is book 1 of a series, a royalty series. I want to say it's called The Bells of Monarchy or The Monarchy something of Bells. I don't really know. I've seen 2 different titles for this series and they have different number of books in the 2 series. So I don't know if something was combined at one point or I don't really know. But it is a royalty-based story, so we are following a princess who is going to college in the States and like nobody knows that she's a princess. Then we have the guy who is a single father also attending college in the States, and so that's how the 2 of them meet, is through being in the same location. And he has no idea that she's a princess and starts falling for her. But she says, I cannot stay here. I need to return home. And return home is somewhere in Europe. And he has no plans of ever leaving the States because of his daughter. And as things progress, he realizes the secret that she has been keeping. And then things develop. As I was reading this, all I could think of was the movie The Prince and I with Julia Stiles, where it's the opposite roles, obviously, is that the princess is the royalty, right? Not the prince. And then the common is the man. And yeah, there's some really cute moments in it. And the princess, why can I not think of her name? Adeline is very down to earth and has really kind of accepted the culture and living in the culture and not like, you know, full of expense and has the finery and stuff. Like she's really approachable and great with working with the young ladies she's working with. But I don't know. I'm not for this royalty story. I'm just not a fan. There were some really cute moments in it. It was a fun, quick read, but I do not plan on continuing the series. Okay, then I listened to the audiobooks of Valentine Bride and Summer Bride by Shanna Hatfield. These are books 1 and 2 in the Holiday Brides series. They are both novellas. They were both rereads for me because I'm trying to get to the last book in the series, which I've never read. So I want to refamiliarize myself with the characters. So book 1 starts out with 2 elderly characters that are living in a retirement home, and they decide they want to pair up their granddaughter, and nephew. And so they are playing matchmaker for these 2 characters, Carson and Finley. And there are some really cute moments in this, really funny moments with what these senior ladies decide to do. And even the way the 2 senior ladies are friends. One is very proper and one you never know what she's gonna do or wear or come out with. And so the 2 of them being best friends is really hilarious. Then book 2, we continue with the retirement home setting. The seniors are now trying to fix up another 2 young people they feel should be together. And there is a little bit of a misunderstanding between one of them. And so it is really funny at the beginning about that and how that all works out. But what I didn't like about book 2 is we didn't see a lot of the romance develop or spend. We just know that they're seeing each other and then something happens and they take a break from each other. They have that third act breakup that's become very common, and then they are able to rectify it. But we don't really see the relationship and the feelings develop, and we just didn't see enough of the elderly ladies, in my opinion. Whereas in the first book, they were very, very active and very there, and I loved the couple. The only thing I didn't like about book number 1 is that the guy is sort of seeing somebody back home, and so he's kind of leading Finley on a little bit, or yeah, it just kind of, there's not a great situation there a little bit. Like, he just could have been a little bit more clear about his situation, I think. Now, it is called Valentine Bride. So it does wrap up at Valentine's Day, but that is a very minor part of the story. So I don't feel like this has to be read around Valentine's. Going with another audiobook, I completed In Harm's Way by Irene Hannon. This is book number 3 of the Heroes of Quantico series. I don't know what I was going to call it there. And when I initially read this back in 2015, my review says this was my favorite of the series. Well, I have a different opinion now. I have decided that book 2, An Eye for an Eye, is my favorite of the series. I just have to say, when this one started out with Rebecca, is it Rebecca? Rachel? Rebecca's her? Yeah. Rachel. And so when it starts out with Rachel kind of having a feeling when she touches something, I was just a little leery about what we were getting into. Like, what was this going to be? And I mean, thankfully, very early on, that feeling is like answers are provided, described in a very realistic way, not supernatural or anything like that. So I really appreciated that. I just didn't connect as well as I would have liked with them. And the fact that there's 2 characters with names very similar to each other, at times it was like, wait, which one are we following now? Right? But I really liked the way the case wraps up. And I like the way the romance developed between the characters, because we are following a guy character that we have met in book 2. And then the characters we met in book 1 and book 2 both make appearances in this one as well. So we get caught up on kind of where they are now, right? Since we last left them. So I did really enjoy it, and the suspense kept me guessing of how was the FBI going to piece all these clues together to try to make sense of everything that's going on. There is definitely suspense in it, and you do get perspective of the villain in this one, which I really enjoy when I get, because you kind of like, you know their motives, but can the police figure this out in time? I did really enjoy that. So I gave it 4 stars because I still really liked it. It just isn't my favorite of the series. Then another reread was Irreparable Harm by Randy Singer. So this is a legal fiction. We are following Mitchell, who is just graduated from law school, just started his first job, and days within that job, he gets assigned this huge case. And really moral decision type case. So we are following Myrna, I don't know how to say her name. She is from Cambodia, so she's an illegal immigrant in the States, and she is a surrogate mother for Cameron, who has been, so she's got the in vitro for Cameron, but then there's a court case going on about the cloned cells. So kind of there's a lot of moral dilemma in this one, and between the scientific with everything that's going on with the biometrics of the cloning of the fertilized egg and things, there were times I was like, I have no idea what they're talking about here. I'm not following it. It was way too much scientific jargon and talk for me. But on the personal level, with the people, with Mitchell and Marna and Cameron and The Rock, like I was really, and Nikki, I was really like, what is going on? But there were some things that just felt really unrealistic to me, especially when it came to The Rock and what he was able to do based on how he was living and dealing with it. Like, I just don't know. And some of the answers really seemed to come out of nowhere for them, or they just happened to be the right place at the right time to discover this. And I don't know, I just didn't like that. But I love the characters, especially Mitchell, Marna, and Nikki. Like, they were definitely my favorites. And there were some that I just didn't know who to trust, and there were certain people you definitely didn't trust. So I was invested in it, but each time we came to the court and talking about the scientific stuff, I was like, it's over my head, I don't know, just get me back to the characters. And we really see their personal relationship develop between two people in particular. And so I did really like that. There is a lot of faith talk in this, because one is a Christian, one is being following Buddha, and we see kind of the faith transform, and we follow one come to Christ and really like kind of stand and learn to trust. And it really, at times it was kind of questioning, like, what would be your opinion? Like, which side of the case would you be on and stuff. So I did like that side of it. Just the court scientific medical stuff was just way too much for me. And then the ending just seemed to come out of nowhere, and I did not like the ending. So I gave this book 3 stars. I will be unhauling it because I do not plan on rereading it again, because it was already my second time reading it. And I think I was really enjoying it for the most part until the ending, and I just didn't like it. Okay, and another book that was 3 stars for me is Anne of the Island by L.M. Montgomery. So this is book 3 of the Anne of Green Gables series. Anne is now off at college in Kingsport with Gilbert and Priscilla. And so we are following her 4 years there. The first year is spent at a boarding house. The last 3 years, the girls are able to get a home together. And so we follow some of their antics with their time through school and their summers, or Anne's summer back home at Green Gables and stuff. And so I did really enjoy some of it, but some of the other stuff is just like, I just found it slow at times, and I didn't really get invested. And I think because I really want the Anne and Gilbert story, and it's not very much in here. Might be a little bit of spoiler, but this is a really old book, okay? That finally, at the end of the book makes the whole read worth it. Yeah. But there are some funny moments in this one as well, but then there's also some moments that were just like, really? Really? Like, I don't know, the thing with the cat and the chloroform? Yeah. I'm not an animal rights activist or whatever. Cats aren't my favorite, but even then I was like, you thought about doing that? Or you tried to do? Really? Yeah, so I will be continuing the series because now I'm hoping there will be more of Anne and Gilbert. We'll see. Okay, so that brings me to Never Fall Again by Lynn H. Blackburn. This is book 1 of Gossamer Falls series. It released last April, I don't know. A year ago anyways, and I'd been putting it off reading it because I knew I'd want to carry on immediately. And I did read Break My Fall, which is book 2 of Gossamer Falls, which just came out in March. So I just finished that one a couple days ago. And now I want to continue the series, but now I have to wait another year for the next book. So in book number 1, we are introduced to the Shaw, Quinn, and Pierce family, and kind of getting to know the dynamics between the cousins and siblings and what the feud could be between a couple of the families. And then we meet Landry, who is a single mother working at the Haven, which is a resort for well-to-do people. And it appears that somebody is targeting her and her daughter. Her daughter is 5 years old, and she is a pottery maker, pottery artist. And so she gets to know one of the guys from the families that we're following. And then just a relationship starts to build. And this book had a little bit of suspense in, but it was really romance. And I was here for it. I loved it. I do wish there was a little bit of more suspense, because that's kind of what I've come to expect from her. But I also didn't really care because I loved the couple together and the way they talked about things. And both are hesitant to even start a relationship due to backgrounds. And when we find out some of the background, like, it was heartbreaking what they both have dealt with and gone through. And to see them kind of overcome that and be able to find a future together, and the way they just complement each other and work together. And then there's a scene where they pray together in the middle of like a trial that's going on, and like they could have reacted so differently, but they stopped and took the time to pray. And when the guy asked, "Can I pray for you right now?" Yeah. I loved this book. Loved it. So, but we meet more characters, and the side characters, the family of the guy in particular, hilarious. Some of the text between the family members, or the way they kind of raved him about things, loved it. It was so entertaining. Now, if I was on the receiving end of that, it wouldn't be as entertaining, but it was entertaining to read. And then book 2 picks up from this one. There is a novella in between books 1 and book 2. I do recommend reading that novella because it gives you more insight to the dynamic between the family members, and they're part of the case that's going on that kind of a little bit carries into book 2. But even if you haven't read it, I don't think you'll be completely lost in book 2, because book 2 does provide a little bit of a recap. It does spoil who the villain is in the novella. But yeah, I do not remember the name of the novella though. I want to say it's part of the Cornered novella collection that she put out in November. I want to say. But I don't remember. So here's the cover. But book 2 then follows another member of the Quinn Shaw Pierce family. I don't want to give spoilers and stuff, so that's why I'm being kind of a bit vague about this. So it follows another one of the members, so somebody we have spent quite a bit of time with in book 1 and gotten to know. Then the romance is with another character who we've also gotten to know through book 1. And at first I wasn't sure what to think, because the dynamics between the two of them, it was kind of, we're going to be friends, that's it. But one has a lot more feelings for the other than, right? And one, it's like, I can never be in a relationship. And how does that develop? Hurt feelings happen, anger happens, a fight happens. And just the way some of that dynamic happened kind of annoyed me a little bit. I felt like one kind of really overreacted to something at one point. But I still really liked the relationship. And once they kind of got past that and positive things started happening, I was here for the relationship. Then there is more suspense going on in this book than in book 1. And so we are following possible like police corruption, trafficking happening, drug dealing happening, and stuff. And so somebody has been threatened because they know too much. Now, there was times that I wasn't quite sure exactly like where the threat was coming from, or were they being threatened as much as it was perceived to be threatened. That's really hard to explain. And so I would have liked a little bit more to see more of that. But like near the end especially, there's a lot of action that happens. Like it really, really picked up. And so I liked this one. I gave it 4 stars. I just didn't love it. But I don't think I loved the characters as much in this one, or like the main couple that we're following in this one, as I did in book 1. Now there is another possible couple, so another 2 characters that we've gotten to know kind of throughout, and hints have been dropped about kind of their past and stuff, that I cannot wait to find out their story and follow them. So I think that was my problem with book 2 as well, is I just wanted the other couple. Like I wanted to know more about these 2 people. And I say the other couple, I'm hoping they become a couple. They're not a couple. But I just want to know about their 2 backgrounds. And so I'm really hoping the next book covers them, but who knows? This family is large, so I'm sure there's a lot of options. So I think, is that all the books? Is that 9 books? Oh, apparently I can't do math tonight. 8 and 7 makes 15. Okay, there's only 8 books to talk about. So those are all the books that I read in the month of March. Now, what was my favorite book for the month? Well, I had 2 5 stars. They were these 2, both romantic suspense. Surprise, surprise. And actually, I really got into historical fiction lately. Well, lately, within the last few years. So I just didn't read any that really stick out. I mean, I enjoyed some, but yeah. These were my 2 5 stars. But my favorite of the month is still One Wrong Move by Danny Petrie. I was so hooked with this story and loved it. Loved it so much. And if you want to see my full review for this book, that is in my mid-month wrap-up, which, as I said, will be linked below. What was your favorite read for the month of March? I would love to chat in the comments below. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.